about dosing. That is probably the #1 question that we get here at CBD BioCare, and our affiliates are always asking that question. Our customers are always asking that question. How much CBD do I take? Now, you know that we have the 500, 750, 1,000, and 1,500 milligram oil. So, Gary, how do we tell people how do we tell people how much CBD oil they can take?
Right. It's a very good question. And it's very confusing. There's a lot of places that give CBD without any instructions. So I think it's commendable that CBD BioCare is taking this to our clients so that they have some guidance in how to use this very outstanding medical product. Even though it really is dietary supplement, it has profound effects on the human body. And there's 3 different factors that people have to take into consideration when they start CBD. First of all, their body already has CBD products. It's the endocannabinoid system. So one size can't fit all because we're all unique. And so, the dosage, really you start slow and or low and go slow. And so that's what we recommend so that you find the right sweet spot for medication. So your endocannabinoid system, and there are incredible videos that show you that and explain that, but the endocannabinoid system, I think, is phenomenal, and we are just learning about that. CBD has over 80 different cannabinoids, and so it has incredible potency for various problems. So the first one is our endocannabinoid system. That changes how we dose things. So you start low and go slow. The second thing is, why are you taking it? So if you're taking it, you might, for instance, have something like insomnia. Well, that would be microdosing. So there's 3 different dosing that you start off with based on what you're trying to treat. And so, for instance, the microdose, we recommend the 500 or 750 milligram bottle, and then you take a couple of drops and progressively use that several times a day. Things that the microdose would treat would be, for instance, someone that has insomnia, headache, mood disorders, some nausea, PTSD, even stress, and metabolic disorders like thyroid issues. And so that's a microdose, which means that it is from 0.5 milligrams to 20 milligrams per day of CBD. And so that's where you start with the lower concentrations, because you might not need a higher dose. Now, if you have something, for instance, like someone has pain, inflammation, autoimmune disorders, Lyme disease, anxiety, depression, arthritis, even multiple sclerosis, that's the standard dose. Okay, in the standard dose, you would start with the 750 or 1,000 milligram bottle, because there you want to get 10 milligrams all the way up to 100 milligrams per day. And so that means you have several doses, and you would use that amount to get up to wherever the symptoms are reduced. So the key with treating a disorder is, or any sort of an issue, is you want to see when do you have a response, and then you stay at that. So the response that you have means you've discovered the correct dose. And it would be so much easier if we said, everybody just use a half a dropper full. But it has to be structured because of the endocannabinoid system and because of that particular disorder that the person is treating. Now the macro dose, so you see it's getting larger. Micro, standard, macro. This is for things that are, for instance, treating cancer or epilepsy, any sort of a seizure disorder, liver disease, any severe life-threatening. And so here the amount that you would take would be anywhere from 50 milligrams to 800 milligrams. Now, for a lot of these symptoms, for instance, cancer, they might not have symptoms that they're looking at, but you would want to have the dosage that you feel is right. One of the good things about CBD, I think it improves the mind-body connection. We sense things more when we're using CBD. And so for the macro dose, they would use the 1,000 or 1,500 milligram bottle. And again, you start low and go slow. And the other thing, so there's three factors. One is the endocannabinoid system. The other is what purpose are you taking the CBD? The third one is day-to-day fluctuations. And so sometimes you're going to say, I'm just not feeling as if I'm getting a whole lot of response from CBD. Feel free to take an extra dose. And you can streamline the dosing. Once you've done the several drops, make sure that you're not having a bad reaction to it, like an allergy in the mouth or something of that sort. You can then do a quarter of a dropper full or a third of a dropper full. And so then you can have a shortcut once you found what your dosage should be. And I hate calling it dosage because that sounds like medication.
Right.
Yeah, the more appropriate term will be a serving size, but that doesn't sound sensible. So dosing is what we say.
You know, that's really a great point. I love how you've broken it down, because then we have some sort of gauge, right? Because for me, for example, I started with a half a dropper of the 750, and then I have experimented with going up and going down to find out how much I need to take for sleep. And that was just an experiment. But it can, you know, another reason that it's so important, the dropper of the 1,000 milligram for pain in the morning, maybe it's a quarter of a dropper or a half a dropper of the 1,000 or 1,500 throughout the day. So it is a little bit of an experiment, which takes a little bit to wrap our mind around. But once you find the right dose, it's really a great match. Because the other thing that we talk about in terms of serving sizes or dosing is CBD oil is expensive, right? So if we can get away with taking less, that's a win-win, because now you have found the right dose. I mean, don't we all wish we were like my mom and can take 3 drops for a great night's sleep?
Right.
That would be ideal. And the bottle is $65, and so that's going to last you a long time. And we want the product to last a long time, but more importantly, we want you to have the right dose so that you achieve the results that you're looking for. Absolutely. So I think this is a really great method, and it's a guide, right? It's not something that is concrete, written in stone. There's a little bit of there's some variables that we all have to take into account. So what about any type of side effects? Or do people have to worry about side effects in terms of CBD oil?
For people that aren't allergic to it, if you have an allergy, you'll have sores in the mouth and you just won't be able to use it. But for most people, sometimes initially they can feel a little lightheaded because it does lower the blood pressure a little bit. Not in a catastrophic way, but some people might sense that. And so you get used to it after a while and it no longer bothers you. There is a drug-drug interaction. It's similar to grapefruit juice. And so grapefruit juice, if someone is on, for instance, blood thinners, they're told to avoid drinking grapefruit juice. Well, that's the same sort of chemical that is in CBD. It's called cytochrome P450. And so that can interfere with the liver's function, especially with blood thinners. And so people need to be aware of that. So if your doctor says, sorry, you're on medication, you shouldn't drink grapefruit juice, then you need to either talk with him or just not use CBD.
That's a good word. And speaking to your physician, it is something we always recommend, right? Because we're not privy to the information, and I'm not a doctor, so we certainly don't tell people exactly what a serving size should be or what exactly they should take. If you are working with a practitioner, make sure that you're telling them what you're taking or what you're interested in taking, because it's just good practice. We as individuals should always take ownership of our own health and make decisions that are best for us. But educate yourself and then inform your provider. But the other thing that I want to caution you is that if you're talking about a natural remedy like CBD oil, you want to make sure that you're talking to a practitioner who is open and educated about that product, because it is not an FDA approved product, but doesn't mean it's not awesome. And it's not a typical Western medicine remedy. So if you're seeing a Western medicine physician, they may not be educated about it or open to it. So you want to make sure that your practitioner is educated so that you get that proper feedback. Would you agree?
Oh, yes. I think it's important for us to have a very open conversation with our healthcare providers. Not only are they going to educate you, but you as their patient can be educating them. And so when I was in clinical practice, I'd have patients come in with an article, and I valued that. And I would look it up. I really appreciate them being so open. There's a whole lot of stuff out there on the internet that's really, it's just bad. But sometimes we're afraid to take something to our provider because they'll think badly of us. Well, be open, be honest, be frank, and I think they will be as well.
That's good information. And I also think that it's important for you as an individual to be educated on what you're taking. And we'll work with you, and we'll work with your provider so that we can present information so that they know exactly what our product is. You know, we consider ourselves partners. We partner with affiliates to help spread the word of CBD BioCare and what our oil is. We also partner with our customers to say we understand that this is new, that this is a little bit overwhelming, that we want to be open to alternatives, but with taking an alternative, there also is, you're taking on responsibility so that you can educate yourself and make sure that you know what you're taking. Is there anything else, Gary, that you think is important for someone to note in terms of how much they should take? You know, maybe we talk a little bit about how it really does depend on you as an individual, because the example we could give is, you know, you might have a 90-pound woman and a 350-pound man, and he may actually have to take less than the very thin woman. So explain that a little bit.
Well, it's because our metabolic system, our endocannabinoid system is so different. And so it's not a weighted dose. And so it's not based on how much you weigh or how big you are. It's based on your own internal cannabinoid system. And so that's why it's different. Also, our body changes throughout the day. And so, for instance, I have arthritis in my knees. So I especially need to take CBD in the morning. And then I might need an occasional dose in the evening, but normally just one dose in the morning really does it for me. I just use a quarter of a dropper full of the 1500. And that really helps for me. Previously, I was on Motrin, and I had real complications from that. And so to realize that we're all unique and we change throughout the day as well. So our needs, even in the day, might be different. One thing I'd like to encourage everyone that might view this is always double check to see if the medications that you're on, you should be on. Sometimes we get medications, it's called polypharmacy. We get medications thrown at us, and you saw a different provider, they gave you another blood pressure medicine, even though you're already on one. And so there are medications that sometimes we don't even need, but once we got put on them, we stay on them. And so always try to see if there's some way to get off of medication. That'll cut down some of the side effects from other medications too.
That's great information. So if anybody's watching this and would like to reach out to you and share their medical history and talk to you about their own circumstances, would you like to provide your email information?
Oh, sure. It's G, and then my last name, Yuremovich, GUREMOVICH@gmail.com.
That's great. So if anybody has any questions and maybe they're seeing a provider or they would like to utilize your services, then they can reach out and understand how CBD may or may not be a perfect match for them.
Very good.
So thank you for your time, Gary, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, bye.